Mornings with Mitch Elliott on 1019 KINK.
So the band has a new album entitled Live Drugs, and it's fantastic. I was able to listen to some of these tracks already. But before we get to that, Adam, how are you holding up?
Doing okay. Yeah, I'm in Los Angeles, just trying to make it through this whole thing.
Is that where you spent the bulk of the lockdown?
Yeah, I've been here the whole time.
So let's talk about the new album, Live Drugs, truly unlike anything previously available from War on Drugs. Tell me how it came to be, because you actually started working on it back in 2018, right?
Yeah, actually, we were on tour 2017, 2018, and then the summer of 2019, I decided I wanted to start mixing some of the live material. I thought I would probably do some sort of live record maybe in like 2022 or something.
Yeah.
But I just kind of wanted to get a head start on it. I knew that everything had been recorded for the most part, multi-tracked, but I knew that there was just like a trove of things to sift through. So I thought getting a head start on it from like the recent bout of touring was the best thing to do. And then we mixed it for about a month, and then I didn't really listen to it much for almost a whole year. And right at the beginning of the lockdown, I kind of came across it in my Dropbox and decided that I wanted to kind of pursue it in the immediate future instead of somewhere down the line.
I can't imagine how much work this project must have been. I wonder how many hours of concert audio did you actually listen to? Do you have any idea?
Probably about 12 or between like 12 and 15 hours, because what I did was, instead of just like having 100 shows in front of me, I kind of went with like my memory of every show. So there was a handful of shows at the end of a tour where you remember, you don't remember the set list, but you remember coming off the stage and feeling like that was a really special one.
Is it strange to an artist that, and I know it's the same thing for stand-up comedians. I mean, you're playing the same songs every night, telling the same jokes if you're a comedian, and some nights are just so much better than others. Is it because of the crowd? Is it because you guys are just killing it? What causes that?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of just the energy in the room, the attitude of the band. I mean, sometimes it's just like you walk out on the stage and you start playing, and the monitor mix in our ear monitors is like fantastic, and sometimes the sound is like bouncing around the room and back into the mix, and it just feels alive, and I'm sure if you for the most part stood at the front of house console every show, I'm sure every show pretty much feels and sounds the same to the audience, but there's something intangible about just whatever we experience in those rare moments where it does feel like we're all levitating. It's like these special shows where, maybe sometimes on some of these tours, in Europe especially, we would have a couple shows where we were playing to 2,500 people, and then the next night we'd be playing to like 9,000. So wow. I think when we would have a quote unquote smaller show like that, I think it took a lot of the pressure off of me. It almost felt like we were playing like in a small club or something.
Gotcha.
I think there was something about that for me that was like a little more casual. And I think when it feels casual is when the band kind of plays its best,
Yeah. Is it typical for a band to record all of their live performances? Did you do that knowing that someday you would hope to put out a live album, or is that just standard procedure for all bands?
I imagine now with a lot of the technology that bands travel with the digital consoles at front of house, all of those have multi-track built into them, because a lot of sound guys use them as what they call virtual sound check. So they don't need the band there to sound check every day, or especially at festivals when they have to sound check the PA at 7 a.m, they can replay the night before and they can get all their general levels. So that's, I think, why that software is built into the boards. But I imagine any band that travels with one, or it's easy to just record every show. And so at the end of like a tour, I'd get maybe 2 or 3 hard drives from the sound guys. And I didn't really go through them for a while, but yeah, it's pretty common, I think, nowadays that most touring acts will have the ability to multi-track it pretty easily.
Do you understand the technology very well? Could you be a sound technician for a band at a big show?
No, definitely not. Not with these new boards. I mean, I could maybe be the effects guy. Is like,
right.
My job is to like, dub out some vocals or drums. But no, I mean, we have very competent, overly competent people doing that. So
I have so much respect for those folks. When I was in college, I started off as a commercial music and recording major. I thought that's what I wanted to do as a career, and I decided, that's too complicated.
yeah, it's really. I mean, watching those guys work, it's really. I mean, they have the longest days of anybody. They're setting everything up, and then they're bringing it all down. So they are our heroes. Yeah,
it's so much pressure. Nobody pays any attention to them when everything sounds great, but the one flub up and you're a.
Oh my God! I know. It's get taken for granted for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
So the timing of the album is just great because we all miss live shows so much. I don't really have a question here for you, but it's just could not.
Yeah, no, I know. Me too. Me too. I mean, listen, this whole thing, it's upsetting. And it just felt like as we got further and further into the lockdown and the project, became more and more likely to happen, it just felt like it was like listening to these shows and going through it all and thinking about it all. It just felt like it was not to sound dire, but it just felt like it was the end of something, whether that's like just like a whole shift in the future. And there was something about putting the last, 2 years of shows, because all the recordings are pretty much from about a 2-year period. Although the point was to kind of like highlight, I guess, how the band had kind of grown over time with this six-person lineup and with the evolution of these songs. And it just felt like
much change in the 2-year period.
In the 2-year, well, definitely from the first round of touring with this band after Lost in the Dream, 2015, I think the last, the chunk, like 2017, 2018. I mean, when I was listening back to stuff, I was amazed at just like each individual person, being able to solo Anthony's guitar for the whole show. I was like, man, I had no idea some of the stuff he was doing. I knew like some of the stuff for sure, but you listen to a whole show and you're like, wow, you're like playing a lead line and then you're playing the background vocal line on the guitar. I mean, there's, and the same goes for every member. So it was really, I think that period of time, and we'll get back to that for sure. It was just everyone was like really, and that goes from the band all the way up to the crew, the guys we travel with. I mean, everyone was so invested in just the operation and the songs and in the time we were spending together. And even as people's families were expanding and it just felt like a really special time and something about putting it to tape and putting it out, curating something and putting an exclamation point on the end of it felt like a nice way to transition into whatever the next phase is, for the band and for music and for everyone in the world.
I think most folks probably aren't worried about the financial well-being of the artists. I mean, I'm sure that is an issue, but your crew, I mean, what are those folks doing to keep their head above water?
I know. I mean, there's really, in terms of crew work, there's obviously nothing. I mean,
no.
It's really, I think everyone is just trying to figure it out. And I don't know.
It does feel like there is going to be some light at the end of the tunnel. The good news, we got about 2 vaccines in the last couple of days. So, fingers crossed. Adam, as you're working on Live Drugs, were there any other live albums in your head that helped inspire your choices, any of your decisions?
When we were mixing, we were referencing the live Springsteen record, 75 to 85, just because it is multiple shows kind of put together to feel like one, arena show. Yeah. But even more than that, it was more sonically just how ridiculous that record sounds. Like, sounds like so massive. Yeah. And I think there's always a little bit of trickery involved in these live records, which I love. Like, I love that The Last Waltz was heavily overdubbed, and Allman Brothers at Fillmore East is like edited together. We didn't do any post-production editing or anything or overdubbing. I did a little bit of sonic treatment on some stuff. I ran a couple things through some gear, but that's really it. But yeah, I mean, really, and everyone kind of, even just like Talking Heads in Rome in 1981. We were like listening to that a little bit, and some live talk stuff in Montreux, and just like random things that
interesting.
Maybe not full, actually released live records, but there's still a lot of live performances that we were really inspired by when we were putting it all together.
The album is Live on Drugs, From War on Drugs. Check it out. Adam, thanks so much for taking the time. Stay safe, and can't wait to see you in Portland, Oregon someday when life returns to normal.
Dude, I cannot wait to come back to Portland.
You're a good man.
We'll talk to you soon. Adam. We'll see you then.
Okay,
Take care. See you, bud. Bye. Bye.